So coming up, you lived in Staten Island.
Yep.
Right? Born and raised. You know, were you guys always looking to get into the Carpenters Union? Like, how did that whole journey start?
Growing up in the childhood you have, you're just going and moving along. And, you know, you just think you're going to get older and you're going to find a job and you're going to go to work like everybody else. Your expectations are low. You're not thinking of owning a house. You're not thinking of having a nice car. You're thinking of getting a one-bedroom apartment. You know, maybe I used to say when I was younger, and I repeated all the time, it's like, you know, if I could just make $500 a week, I feel like, and back then with rent, and I can rent a one bedroom, $1,000 a month, and I'll have a nice car, and that, you know, that's my life. But when you come from that, you think that's making it, right?
Yeah.
And then as you...
Limiting beliefs.
Exactly. And you, so even with all the childhood upbringing and, you know, my mom, that it definitely had to be a mental illness thing because it was a rough childhood. And, you know, I hear some people talk about how, you know, you grew up in a poor family, and a poor family, you know, that sucks too, that's hard. But usually, you know, if they were lucky enough, they would have that one parent that's, you know, showing them support and love regardless of the financial situation.
A foundation as a young kid.
And we didn't have that either.
Yeah.
So you didn't have, you know, we were poor, you didn't have money, you didn't have a great upbringing. So you kind of just, you're going through the motions and you're just forced to grow up a lot earlier than most people.
And you kind of lose your childhood, your innocence.
Yeah, and we didn't grow up in the greatest area. I mean, it was Staten Island, it was a lot of Section 8 housing, right? So you're surrounded, you're not a victim, but I would say just a product of your environment and the expectations of what you see around you. And, you know, you think, like I said, you know, 500, 700, like owning a house is just not even in, you're not even thinking about it. You think only rich people can own houses. You think I wasn't born into that, or my parents, you know, didn't leave me that. They're not going to help me with that. And you're kind of on your own. But, you know, as you proceed, and my brother doing what he did for me, I mean, I moved on.
Talk about that story real quick, because I think that's a good story for people to hear and understand your...
Imagine I moved in with my brother permanently when I was about 13. There was some, you know, my mother with the mental illness.
Speak about the story you told me earlier, though, with going into foster care, him not really being aware of it.
Yeah, so he, you know, he basically went, this is how bad it was. He basically went to school one day, came home, and my mother had taken me, like I said, and I think it was for legal issues, the reason why she took me, because it would have been illegal, and moved. And he came home to a house that, you know, we didn't take any furniture or anything. It's just, you know, the following day, the lights are off. You know, he doesn't have phone numbers, cell phones, you know. It's different. It's not as easy to track somebody down. And he was homeless for a little while, and then, you know, he had found a job, got on his feet. Believe it or not, I think he bought a house. I think he was 19 when he bought his first house. And my 13th birthday came around. He finally, I think, tracked us down or had some sort of correspondence with my mom. And he bought me this expensive bike that only, you know, rich kids would have. And we'll circle back to that. It was stolen twice in the neighborhood. Because I didn't know any better, right? We moved to a bad neighborhood, and I didn't know you couldn't leave your bike in front of your house. So that's another story. And he bought me this bike, and he calls my mom, and he's like, hey, listen, it's 13th birthday. It's a big deal. I've been saving, and I want to bring him this bike. And she said, I'll take you to him. And he said, what are you talking about? And he got the details. They got into an argument. He forced her to take me back. Maybe a week, maybe 3 days. I just remember him showing up. And like I said before, timelines are hard when you're scarred like that.
Trauma.
I've learned to just put it behind you and move forward. I got my own family now, you know, God bless. And showed up with some garbage bags and said, throw your shit in the garbage bags and let's get the fuck out of here. So then I move in with him, but now he's a worker, right? So he's working 100 hours a week.
You're still 13 with like little supervision.
I'm a kid. Yeah, no supervision. So guess what? I don't go to school. You know, I stopped going to school freshman year of high school, dropped out. You know, obviously, well, you don't get dropped out. Eventually, you just stop showing up and you're just not on that list anymore.
You went away.
Yeah. So now at multiple times, unfortunately, too, I would get into so much trouble and that by not being there. So, you know, when you have to have your parent come up?
Yeah.
So I remember Port Richmond High School, I'm in detention, and you had to bring a parent because that's how bad it was. And he's sitting next to me, and he's looking over at me and going, listen, this can't go on. You know, I'm missing out on money. I could have worked overtime tonight. You know, I don't know what you're doing. You just got to try to get your life together. and he gets yelled at because they think he's a student, right? Because he's, you know, 6 years older than me, and you know, he looks like a student. And I just remember him looking at the lady and going, I don't even go here.
Yeah.
I'm only here because this one doesn't want to come to school.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me, like, you know, you cut 6 times. Why'd you even go? You should just stayed home.
Yeah. Get a job.
Yeah. Well, long story short, I started working at night in the city, Friday night into Saturday morning for a moving company that he got me the job with because he was the general foreman in that building. Mm-hmm. And I remember working Friday night to Saturday, and my friends are working at McDonald's, and they're paying me well just for Friday night and Saturday, and I'm making a week. What I make on that Friday night to Saturday was like what my friends would have to make
5 days,
a whole week.
6 days, yeah.
And then you see the money, and then it circles back to low expectations, and I'm like, I'll just do this. I'm not going to school.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much bills are, a mortgage and stuff like that. And so I kind of fell into it. But once again, to circle back, so imagine that, raising a 13-year-old kid, and you're just trying to figure it out, right? And obviously he had a great work ethic. I mean, he's a beast. Yeah. And everything I've learned
and your brother's first name again?
George.
George. And George is your partner with your other partners in MTS.
Yes, and that's how I got into this business. It was actually, I was trying to apply for jobs, and I couldn't get jobs, and I think he didn't want to bring me on because he felt, and he always said, you know, to circle back to a famous quote, wasted talent. Mm-hmm. And he would always say, listen, and I have ADHD, and I'm dyslexic. Mm-hmm. So he would always say, just, you know, you're so smart, that this isn't for you. Could do so many bigger things, and this is great what I do, but there's opportunity. You're young, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Go to college. At one point he was trying to pay me to go to school.